Guys, we've got a good turnout today, so everyone must be pretty excited about seeing the Constructive software here.
Awesome.
So we've got guest speakers today that will be going through this software. So we've got James and Lizzie from Constructive. And yeah, so this Constructive software, we've purchased this through our cooperative fund spend. So there's quite a lot of setup, which you can probably appreciate once we go through this. Lots of setup that Lizzie and James and the team have done for us. But there are some other costs which I'll go through at the end as well, just to make you aware of what they are. But all of this setup is covered by the cooperative fund. There's just some single one-off job costs for us on each job as they go through. So I might hand over to James and Lizzie just to go through the overview of what we can and can't do in the software.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that, Tim. So as Tim said, James, Lizzie, I suppose from this demonstration, I'm going to walk you around Constructive and the setup that I'm not going to steal Lizzie's thunder. Lizzie has done the majority of the work for you guys, kind of setting up I'll show you around, and I suppose show you how it might be used. So actually how your clients might use this, how then you would use this post the clients using it, and kind of get into some real stuff. But I'll start kind of high level. This is what we're trying to achieve, get into the software in terms of what it does, and then come back to how you'd use it. All right.
Very good. If any of you guys have questions along the way, put your hand up and we can get those answered as well, hopefully.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, and please interrupt me as we're going through, because then we get the best answers, really. So I suppose first up, obviously, we are Constructive. We're the software vendor providing this service to you guys. But in terms of what we provide you, we provide something that looks and feels like your brand. So it should look and feel like you to your clients. So what we're looking at here, and hopefully everyone can see the screen I'm wandering around. Put your hand up if you can't.
We sure can.
You're looking at your branding, your look and feel, and then so because this is something that you're going to give your clients, you're going to give your client a login to this system to enable them to do stuff at home. So it needs to represent your company, I suppose. So the reason for being, what is Constructive trying to do? So Constructive is trying to be a tool that you can give your client so that they are prepared for the color selections meeting, right? And that's its primary return on investment. That's the thing that will make the biggest difference to your clients' satisfaction and your satisfaction when you've got happier clients and more prepared clients. So that's what we're after getting to. And to do that, we've got a product called Online Selections, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It provides online selections to your clients at a point that you deem that you want to give it to them, so that they can go through each individual selection and make informed choices around what they're putting in their home. They can see your product range, they can see the different options, and go through that and prepare themselves for the color meeting. And it's also a place where you can track what they're doing. They might say that they've done everything, but actually they've only made 2 selections. This is a place where you can actually see what they've done as well. All right, so I'll jump into the product and start walking around. So over here, we've logged in as an individual client. We're looking at someone's job, and this would be your clients registering, logging in, and then they see their job. All right. So down the side here, we can see what's the job number, and then what's the lot address, so that if you or a builder yourself would be looking at it, you know you're looking at the right job. And then here you've got selections. So what selections should the client be looking at prior to that color console? All right, so the first selection I've gone to here, and I just need to minimize that for a second, is the color boards. So a representation of your color boards in a virtual way. So what are all the things that you've curated and put together as a package to make it simple for your clients to choose something and to have your expertise all grouped up together. So you can see here, we've got a selection down here called color boards, and then you've got all of these different products all kind of grouped together, ready to go. And a client could go through this, and this is selected at the moment, but they could unselect it and reselect it, or change their mind to select a different package. And then that would change a whole series of the individual selections below. So this is kind of a quick and easy way of making lots of selections in one go.
So just for our group here, these selections are our fast track selections. So
right.
Just about to say that.
For INH terminology, yep, fast tracks.
Yep. So fast tracks. All right. So that's a group of all of those selections together. Now I'm going to drill into the little detail so you can see what's underneath all of that. So each selection that you want the client to think about, whether they're in fast track or whether they're doing outside of that, is detailed underneath what we call a selection group, and then a selection itself here. Right? Now, in each selection, you've got a list of possible choices that you want the client to look at, to consider, and make a choice from. Now, obviously, I've selected or Lizzie selected a fast track package already, so you've got things that are already selected. Right? Likewise, I want them to consider the barge and fascia colors. And again, you're choosing from a set of color bond colors so they can see the range and go through that. And then I'll just
grayed out because they're not part of that selection. They're not part of the fast track.
Correct. They're not part of the Aussie Hamptons package. So yeah, the Aussie Hamptons package only has one color included for the barge and fascia, which is that surf mist color. So if we clicked on a different package, it would depending on what was included for that fast track package, would have a different coloring automatically selected for you.
Yeah. Perfect. Also within a fast track, you might actually have a choice of things, and you can see here these are green ticks, which means everything's selected, it's all good. Hopefully psychologically the client feels comfortable and they're moving on. But you can see here we've got a little question mark. So once they've selected a fast track, there's still actually a choice that they need to make here. So if I go into ensuite, then the client still needs to choose between this or this, all right? So the fast track just narrows the choices down for them, but they still need to make an individual choice. And this is a test job, so we probably made some of those choices already, but this is an example where we still got an unresolved selection to make.
So from a client's point of view, like all the green ticks that are above that point, you'd almost say that you don't even need to visit that page, like it's already done, it's selected. Yeah. Yeah,
that nice psychological notion of, oh, I've done that work, moving on, next one.
Wonderful.
And you'll actually see, at the top here, we've got that next kind of notion, and quite a lot of the clients will just go into the first selection, select something, hit next, go to the next selection, and doing it in a bite-sized way. And that's what I suppose in constructive or in online selections we're trying to do. We're trying to make every selection a bite size for the client, so it's not too scary, and they can feel as if they're slowly progressing. So the client would make a selection. That's the type of cabinetry handle they want in the ensuite. And then they select next to go to the next selection. I still want the same kind of thing in the bathroom. And next again. They've also got the ability, I've already made all the other selections, but so they select next, and then it's going to cycle me through to the next selection that they should be choosing from. And again, because it's in the fast track package, it already shows as selected. So, I mean, online selections is just a large number of choices, and we're trying to present those to the client in the best way possible. So actually, tapware and hardware is probably quite a good one. Tapware packages at the top, perfect. So here you've got that kind of, what are these things? What are the upgrade options? And what are all the choices within them? And again, a client could be choosing upgrade option 1. They can see that it's non-standard. We haven't got all the pricing in there at the minute, but that will give them a notion of it's non-standard or standard.
So and then they price that as well. So they'll actually get a visual cue to, this is how much I'm adding to my contract because of this selection.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
And then obviously by selecting that has selected all those individual things in here. So you can see each product has a picture against it, obviously a name, And that picture is really the powerful thing for your client. It's kind of visually seeing what are they going to get, what are they going to get when they get onto site. So, and then obviously individual selections. Okay, I'm going to the wrong ones.
I really don't have any.
Yeah. So those are the individual selections. It's just that this has been selected by that kind of tapware package. And then you can see all the different options available to them.
So those other ones that are grayed out, can they, if they do try and select those, can they do that, or is that? So
if we did try and select, say, the drift gooseneck in the black, it's going to say that you're unselecting a package. So yeah, it's going to say you're going to remove this tapware package because we originally chose the Chrome package. Yep. So we can continue and do that. That's okay. And it will select that one, but it is going to leave the rest of the selections as the Chrome color unless you go in and change it over to the black as well.
I see.
So if I go into the basin, we still have that original Chrome one picked. So you'd want to go through and either change your black one, or you can go back to your tapware packages and actually just select your whole black range instead.
Excellent.
There is the option of having what we call locked packages. So you could say, I can only, if I select Mizu Drift as a client, matte black, sorry, as a client, I can't then go and change the individual selections. You have to have the whole package or nothing at all. Yep. So you can have that, but at the moment these are set up so they can what we call break the package and then make individual choices.
So if we had a locked package and we selected this Mizu Drift black,
then if a client went here and went sync mixer and tried to change it from black to that, it would say, unfortunately, you can't do that. That is part of the package.
Great.
Please go and change the package. Yeah. And that's from a client point of view. Obviously, as a builder, you get the ability to override that. Right? So once they're in a color meeting, you want the ability to do whatever you like and not be constrained. And as a builder, you can do that. But just from a client point of view, when they log in, they're unable to do that.
All right, we're just getting some notes. All right, we've got a note from Glenn here saying it is essential that they are locked. So we do need to make sure they are locked.
Sure.
So our fast tracks are pretty rigid. If people select a fast track, we want them to select that fast track and no other changes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I guess it might be nice to have that feature as a builder to be able to make that change at some point if we need to.
Yeah. And obviously, if as a builder you did break the package, then it is very, very visible because in the package selection, nothing is selected. All right. So from a paperwork point of view, it's really obvious. And so you can do that audit trail.
Perfect.
And that might be one of the checks you do as you do your ordering. You're kind of going, well, was there a package selected? Was it abided by? And you can instantly see that. Right. So I suppose as a client, you are going through and making as many of those selections as possible at home on a mobile phone. All right. And that's one other thing I should point out. Actually, around about 66% of everyone that logs in to do online selections is on a mobile phone. And I don't know whether this will work well on your screens, but if I just shrink it, just to prove to you that natively we kind of design it to work well on a mobile phone.
Nice and responsive.
And then you've got that kind of scenario there, because actually the majority of your clients will sit at home on a sofa making their selections on their mobile phone. That's actually what happens.
I assume this is saving as they're going too, is that so they could do 2 or 3 selections, turn it off and watch a TV show and then come back?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so. So as they are doing something, there's no big save button. It is just saving in the background. Yeah. It is obviously recording who is making those selections. So if the client has made it versus the builder, then we know who is making those selections in the background. So you can get an audit trail out of it. But yeah, it is saving as you go through. All right, and then I suppose the rest of this is about how many selections you have, what choices are you offering the clients, and you see under each of these headings there's these package selections here where you're grouping these things up and trying to make it as easy as possible for the client, getting back to that original reason, which is to make the client informed, make it a nice easy process, and to make your life as the builder a lot easier. And these might evolve over time, but this is what's in there at the minute. I don't want to go through every single one of those. Do we have any way we can change prices?
Yeah, anyway, try look at flooring, because so both the carpets and all the flooring in the fast track packages have a lot of options to upgrade, I believe. So all the color choices for like the Aussie Hamptons package that we're looking at the moment are in there, and then we could have these priced so that they can see that either the vinyl plank is included, but then if they went up to the hybrid flooring selection, possibly these might cost a certain amount, and so you could price override if you wanted to. If they wanted to select this item, the natural oak, and it's going to cost them $1,200 to upgrade to that one, they can do that and select that color if they want to.
And then that resolves that. You can see here we've grouped selections together to make it a bit simpler rather than just a very long list, so they can see different types and see those products. And with that price override, it gives you the ability to kind of finalize that paperwork and give that information across to the client.
If we shot back to the vinyl plank there for a second, all of those are showing as non-standard. Is that because we haven't got prices set at the moment?
Correct,
Yes.
yeah. That'll be the next step.
All right, so if they're all set at the base price, then obviously, wouldn't say non-standard because we know the price and it doesn't change the price. So therefore it's
if I just
included item.
manually do that for a second, it just shows standard like that. Or we can change that terminology to included or no price change, those kind of things. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
And likewise, as a builder, we obviously have prepared this selection template, but you might not choose to show all of these selections to the clients, right? And you can actually, as a builder, get in and kind of customize this individual job. I'll just talk around what are the different things we can do there. So for example, if we don't want to show floor coverings to this particular client at home, because we know they've been problematic during the sales cycle, we can actually hide this whole selection from them. So we can tap hide, and that hides that whole selection from the client, so the client can't see it at home. Now, you see this kind of grayed out flooring here. It's still a selection, still exists on the job, but it's not something the client can see at home when they log in, only something you as the builder can see. So you can still make that selection so it prints out on your paperwork, but it's not something you want the client to see at home. And there may be other selections that you want to do that too. So just, I'm going to show it to the client again. So I just click that button just to then show it back to the client. There might be other scenarios as well where, for example, in ovens, bad example, tops, you can actually see, this will break a package, so you'll see what it says, but that's breaking the package. You'll see I can actually go in, both of these choices show to the client. I can actually come in and hide an individual choice from the client as well. Great. So you've got quite a lot of customization on an individual job level. So you can hide selections, you can hide individual choices. Equally as well, you'll see when we did cabinetry, benchtop, you can see we're making a selection in kitchen, butler's pantry, and laundry. As part of the preparation of the job, you can actually say what areas are in this house and what selections are relevant to those areas. So this particular job might not have a butler's pantry, which would remove the benchtop selection, benchtop edge selection, probably cupboard drawers, cupboard handles. It would remove all of those selections in one go. So you can, what we call, prepare the job by defining what areas are in the house, which will then kind of tailor the selections to that individual job. Right? So not only can you manually hide whole selections or choices, but you can also delete areas out of the house or even add areas, like they've got 5 WCs or 5 powder rooms, and that duplicates the selections, or removing areas takes those selections away. So you can really customize it to the individual job, to the point where we have people that use online selections for renovations, and they cull it right down to only the area of that renovation. So it's very, very flexible in that way.
Perfect. All right. We have got a question from Chris here, who's talking about the fast track selections, and there were some other greyed out options that they couldn't select. Is there a way, from the builder's point of view, to remove all of those grey options so that it's not even a visual prompt that there's something else available?
There isn't at the moment. There's only, it kind of greys them out, and there's no ability for them to select them because it's a part of a locked package. As Glenn was talking about a minute ago, but at the moment we've got no way of completely hiding them.
So you could go through and hide each individual item prior to the client having access, but
you could, yeah, absolutely you could do, but there's nothing in the system that would do that automatically for you.
Sure. All right, that's fine. We'll just have to put them down as a feature request.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, not particularly difficult, but there isn't anything that does at the moment.
No problem.
All right, and then so clients sitting at home, they're making these selections. They're very happy because they're informed. They know the different choices, and the client can review all of the choices they've made by going to this My Selections tab here. They could get from any of those selections. There's also a button up here that says My Selections. So go to the same thing, jumps down there, and they can see that the color board of Fast Track package selected. And they can see all those individual choices. Now, as a client, they can click there and it will jump them to that individual selection. Yep. As a builder, you can also click here and it will... I need to just turn something back on. Best laid demos is when you need to make a slight tweak. Sorry.
Are you all right?
I should have checked that on. There we go. All right. Back to what I was just doing. So as a builder, you get slightly more functionality so that when you click on this, it comes up with a little box like this, and you can get in and change a selection on behalf of a client. And this is where I'm talking a color showroom meeting where you might be working through those choices with the client. So here you can come in here, you can start typing if it's a long list or select from that list. And that would change that individual choice. You can override the price if you want to set it to be something like that. And you can also add notes. So contractual notes that you need to have on there that the client signed off on, or notes for the construction team about the best way of doing it. So color bond roof, what note would be relevant to that? Events to be the same, or something similar to that.
So client notes, does that mean a client has a section to write their own notes?
Yes.
But they can't edit ours?
Yeah, no, they can't. So the client has the ability to add notes, and I'll just I'll show you how they do that in a second. So as the client goes through, they can put their own notes on it. So if I go to color bond roof, for example, I can add and edit a note. Now the client gets that same thing, but if the client does it, it puts it into that client note box that you saw a second ago. That doesn't print off, so it doesn't show up on any paperwork. It's really about the client writing a series of notes so that in the color meeting, they can remember what to talk through. Because if the client does put a note, it puts another note here, client, and then whatever they've written, so that during the color meeting, you can kind of go through that, answer any of those queries. If that meant that you were going to add a builder note so it appears on the paperwork, you can do that. You can transfer that to something that is going to print off, or you can just leave it as a client note and that won't appear on any contractual paperwork.
Great.
So you can go through, do that. You can also lock selections as well, so that the client can see it, but they can't make any changes. Again, kind of that manual kind of work you might want to do on a job for a particular client. If they varied something in the sales cycle and you don't want them changing the oven again, because that changes cabinetry and the rest of it. So you can actually lock it so they can't make changes. So this My Selection screen is just a summary, and it works really quite well on an iPad, iPad Pro, or a Surface or some kind of tablet. So that if you are walking or going somewhere with a client, showing them around products, you can actually work through this, put the notes on it, and be working in a digital way so that you don't have to transfer it across to another document later on. And likewise, it works well for the client in the same kind of way. Obviously, they don't get that same functionality you get in terms of this screen, but they can be going through this, jumping back out to the selection, making a selection, then coming back to see what they haven't selected. So if I just scroll down, there's a lot of things here, but you can see here, there are some selections with no selection made yet because they weren't part of that fast track package. And you can see it just says no items chosen. And that's just your checklist of things to consider or review with the client during that color meeting.
So we could put those in though, if we're sitting down with the client, or we could add that for the client to add themselves.
I was actually going to say they're like a clothesline and letterbox, those things are coming. The ones that don't have choices in them yet will have choices in them and will be included in the fast track packages. And just trying to get the specifics of those exact items. So yeah, there will definitely be choices included for those.
So it's fair to say that fast track would select everything.
Basically select, yeah, fast track will basically select everything for you except where there is those options. So with cabinetry, the vanities and stuff, if they can choose between the formy, I believe, and like the different top, like, so you've got that poly marble top, or you could have a Caesar stone top. So if we went to the cabinets and then vanity bench top,
yes,
you would see they've got two different options. So if they chose the cement stone vanity top, they could then choose the different basin as well.
Yeah, gotcha.
So yeah, that's been set up as well that way. So if we chose, cement stone vanity top now, we'd go for the ensuite, would then go to the basin for the ensuites, or if we wanted to, and choose vice versa for the bathroom.
Yeah, and basin,
So you've got, obviously, we've got the stone top for the ensuite, so we want that above counter comet basin for there, and then the bathroom we've chosen the poly marble one, so we'd want the poly marble top for there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got a question here from Kuma. I'll just see if he'd like to ask a quick question while we're here. Hello, Kuma. We've just got you on the call there. Did you have a quick question? I think he's got himself on mute. That's all right. We might come back to that one.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you, Kuma.
Hey, just after the roof, the brick works. So normally we use up here the render. So can the builder can edit it up there, or because we not use up here the block work, like a brick work? We just only do block work up there.
Yeah. I'm led to understand from the original conversations that we would, right, yeah. So for those particular jobs in your region, you can control what's included in that job. Like I was talking about removing areas, like a whole powder room, for example. You can remove face brickwork from that job, and then just leave main render, contrast render, feature render if you like, and really control that.
So builder can do that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. It's what we call a file prep. It's like deleting lines from an Excel sheet, and that kind of controls which selections are shown.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Question?
So just on that there. So if we've got particular builders that have slightly different, say a package, a different tapware package. So all these are sort of global items for our whole franchise group. Is there any way for individual franchisees to say create their own package or add their own item into here as well?
Not if you're using the same selection template. If the same selection template is being used for all companies, then the same range of choices should be available. What I'd advise there is if there are specific things for specific companies or even geographic regions, then I would actually put them in as hidden choices. So you don't normally show the client unless the builder decides to unhide them on that individual job.
Okay.
Right? Yep. And then for that builder, they might unhide that one every single time.
All right. So essentially that builder might just give themselves a checklist to say, go into this subheading and make this item available. Yeah, I
mean, it depends on the volume of where that generates. If it is something that is onerous, then you would create a separate selection template for that. But that's something for you to kind of discuss with them.
Yeah, understood.
Generally, what you're seeing down the side here is what we call, well, it's actually the selections for the individual job, customized by area and the inclusions. But what generates that is what we call a selection template, which denotes what are the choices in each group, and then what are the ranges. So what are the selections in each group, and then what are the range of choices in that selection. And if the range of choices changes significantly, then we typically say that's a different selection, like you'd create a slightly different selection template for that.
All right. So you mentioned about areas there as well. Does that mean we've got different areas, say, based on state at the moment?
No, areas James was referring to was more like rooms. So 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, a laundry, possibly a linen.
Sorry, areas is like an internal name. We call it, it's really a room or a place within a home. It's this list here. So house is one area. I was talking about, hey, this house doesn't have a bedroom floor, so I'm going to remove that area completely. Or, hey, this house has 5 bedrooms, so I'm going to take that bedroom, I'm going to duplicate it.
Yeah,
and type correctly, law of demos.
It's a bedroom.
And I'm going to create the bedroom 5. Just slide it in the right place. All right. So that's kind of just adjusting how many rooms, areas are in their house, and to customize it to that individual job. Likewise, we were just talking about getting rid of the brickwork. If on this particular house you didn't want to have that brickwork selection, then I can just click the X to get rid of it. Right? And then that selection doesn't show at all, is not relevant to that job. Whereas hiding something, the selection is still relevant to that job. A selection should be made, it's just not shown to the client at home. And that's the difference between the two. All right, so my selections, that's the kind of finer one. I talked about the notes and the kind of extra functionality you get as a builder. But you want an output from this. You want that kind of paperwork where the client can see what they've selected, they can see the notes that you put on it, and hopefully they can sign it and move on very happily. And then you can provide that to the other departments within your builder. So we've got this little print button up here. And one of the print offs is what we call selected items. And here it's just a formal print off denoting the job details and then what selections have been made. Right? And now, obviously, when it's got pricing, these all show, but these are each of the individual selections, including pictures. And that's really key because that just clarifies the communication with the client. And that's what we need. We need them to understand what they're going to get, and pictorial form is the best way of doing that. And also for the supervising and the construction team, that kind of picture color specification is really valuable as well. So that's just a print-off format grouped by those groupings that we saw earlier. And you'll see when you get into cabinets, it's actually grouped by area. So grouped by the kitchen, then butler's pantry, just to make it nice and easily understandable for the clients. Then I don't know whether we've got any, so we can add signature boxes on the end and contractual disclaimers if required as well, so that it can be a format that the client would print off and sign. Yeah. All
right. So I have a question about the process with this, about would most clients normally self-serve themselves, or is there, I'm guessing there'd be like a little bit of a prep work you do first, then you'd pass it off to the client and then maybe just finish it off with them at some stage? Is that what would normally happen?
So normally there's no training that's normally provided to a client. So what you typically do is at a set point in time, you as the builder would prepare that job. You'd make sure you've got the right rooms in the house. And if there are any individual choices that you wanted to select and lock because you don't want them to change it, or hide because you don't want them to consider it, you might do that for them. So that's what we call the prep. And then once you've prepped it, you're happy with it as the builder, then there's a button to send registration email to the client. And then they receive an email branded as you with some brief instructions about what they should do. And it includes a registration link. They click the registration link, create their own username and password, and then they go directly into this page here and start working through the selections. Obviously, as a builder, you should be saying to the client what they are going to get, so they've got expectations, and also setting your expectation around what you want them to do. So quite often we do get the feedback that sometimes the clients are nervous about actually selecting something. They like looking and seeing all the choices, but they might not want to select something because they feel as if they're going to be beholden to it. So just communicating to them and going, hey, look, this is just a preparation tool. You can select everything you want. Everything's up for discussion at the color meeting. All right, so not to be scared by that process. And then obviously you want the client to make as many selections as you can. You can always log in, see your jobs, and see how many selections that client has made. So just here, I suppose in the jobs list, we can see instantaneously how many client selections have been made. So you can see what progress they've made. And as a builder, I can then go and have a look at it as if I'm the client, which is exactly what I'm doing now. Just loads up a new tab, and then I'm looking at it as if I'm the client. Right? And that's that screen I was working through. And then obviously you can have conversations if they've not done many and they're a week out from their color meeting, or they've done loads. Hey, let's get you in quicker, get this signed off, get you moving onwards. Obviously then they come to the color meeting. You're going to review every selection they've made. Physical samples are important. We'll never get away from that because colors on a computer screen can be unreliable. Right? So it's important to confirm the colors, the choices that they've made, give your expertise across as the builder, what works with what voids warranties, all that kind of stuff. Make any modifications to the selections, make any notes that you need to in this screen, and then use that print it off, get the client signature, and then passing that through to the relevant people to get it done. That's the typical process. Obviously, every builder actually does it slightly differently, but generally.
And I think your fast track might be a little bit different as well. Would that be right, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, our fast track, a lot of these selections are already done for the client, and we don't have quite as much flexibility. We're trying to hold the clients to that. Obviously, they still want to see that they've selected the right one. So just about all of our builders should have color selection boards, a physical board with physical tiles and things. So the client can see those in person as well.
Yeah, okay.
The other thing I didn't mention, sorry, is it's also important that we lock the client out from making future changes. So there is the ability in there to lock client selections so the client can see it, but they can't make changes going forward. And you typically do that a day before your color meeting, or when you're getting that sign off, I suppose. Okay. They can continue to log in and see those selections that they have selected to take away that notion of not remembering what the choice was, those kind of things when they get to site, but they can't make any changes.
Great, all right. So from the client's point of view, we get to this point and they've got all the green ticks down the side. Is there something to let them know they've finished, or do they hit a button to say I'm finished?
In terms of in Constructive, there's nothing that says, hey, fantastic, you got 100% complete. We can turn on what we call a submit button that enables them to submit their selections to the builder. And it actually, what it does is it fires an email with a print off of the selected items report to a nominated email address that would be the builder's. And it also locks the selections down so the client can't make any future changes. The other thing that does is if they haven't done all the selections they need to do, it will prompt them to say, hey, look, you need to make this selection and this selection. If you're not running with a submit function, then generally they are making as many selections as they can, and then you're finalizing it all in that color meeting.
Excellent. All right, we'll have a talk about that internally about how best to handle that, whether we have that submit button or not.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a fast track process, it might be a submit and bang, fast track, a couple of extra packages, review a couple of selections, hit submit, and then that moves the client through the process. And that could be very slick. Custom job, you might want a bit more involved.
Excellent. All right. So we've got our internal software, iGyro, as well, that we're integrating with. So for our guys, we'll have some automatic processes where the client's automatically brought into the Constructive software at a point in time. So we'll complete a task. That client we brought into Constructive. I haven't checked yet. Hopefully there's a way to say once they've submitted, there's some sort of a notification that we could pull back as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they do submit, whether it's locked would be the criteria there.
Perfect. Yep. So hopefully we'll get that through the API as well, and we'll fill out a gyro task to let you know that the client's completed their color selection. So that'll fit in with our notification scheme in our software as well.
Right. So I suppose, yeah, with the jobs already in there, they're just finding that job, working that job up in terms of what areas are applicable in save, and then going into the client view, making any modifications they need to, and then in this client page, send registration email there.
Perfect.
Quite simple to do. And you shouldn't need to edit anything. Everything should come from your system in terms of names, addresses. If anything's wrong, you go back to your system, change it, and then that would flow through.
That's great. All right.
Yeah.
So one thing that we haven't, I don't know whether I'm getting ahead of ourselves here or not, but there's also some 3D color selections, which I don't think we can go through today because we haven't got our models in place for that. So we're looking at that as for future once we've got everything else in place.
Do you want me to show the demo jobs so that people can get a feel of what it will do?
If you've got one ready, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So jobs, this won't be branded as you guys, but
that's okay.
So find my job. So this is very much our branding look and feel, but gives you, and there's other things turned on, but I'll drill into selections. So here, instead of color packages, we've got a selection called Facade Packages. Same package kind of thing, all external selections. And because it's external selections, we're actually loading through a 3D model of the house. And we're enabling your clients in your future world to select a package and then see all of those color choices change in one go. Likewise for changing packages to another, so everything's changing. Equally, they can interact with that 3D selection if you're not doing locked fast tracks, and individually change different components. It's going to say that's our package. Continue, and you can see the relief of the garage door change. I could change the front entry door to something else, and they're actually physically seeing this stuff change, and they can see those things against each other. And that's just a case of loading in a 3D file from your working drawings to see that change happen.
Yeah, that's excellent. So this will work in perfectly with our fast tracks as well, because obviously we've got our external colors and bricks on our fast tracks. So if we have those all set up, we can just click on those as a visual cue to what they're receiving on their external.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, and then they can flick between different fast tracks, see what it is, make that choice, an informed choice because they're actually seeing it on their house.
Wonderful. All right, I guess we're almost there. I've got a quick question from Ralph. I'll just see if he'd like to ask a question. Hello, Ralph. Just
I just clicked that. Yeah, that's just one thing with that the variation price. If this system doesn't know how many square meters and that are in each room, like if you say, for argument's sake, you got someone that wants polished timber floorboards in the dining room, like how does the system know that how many square meters to allow for?
So I'll answer off the cuff because it does depend on how we set stuff up. Well, the majority of the case, the builders will denote those as an upgrade, an undefined price upgrade, and at a set point in your process, you would price it, and then you could put the price in as a price override so that they can see what it would be if they're keen on it, and then they can make their choice. We do have the ability to do pricing per quantity. but that involves more setup on the individual job. So you'd need to go into each room and say, okay, there's this meter squared of flooring in this room, there's this meter squared of flooring in this room, and then how we set up the prices would need to be per meter squared. So it does that multiplication for you. So it's not really an answer because I can't say definitively what you do, but both of those options is used heavily by the builders. So for example, linear meters of benchtop, we've got builders that price it per linear meter, whereas we've got other builders that actually equalize it out and just give a rough 550 for any of their house types because they know it's within cooey on each kind of end of the scale there. So it depends how you want to present it. Do you want to make it really, really simple, make it easy for them to upgrade? You might put a dollar figure in there. If you want to make it really detailed and really accurate for the client, you would go to the length of putting the quants in and letting it do the multiplication. If you're happy to go with a priced at meeting or POA, price on application, and then get your estimator to price it individually for the job, equally it can do that.
I think we've probably got some things that are, I've got a package upgrade and we've got set prices Australia-wide, so that would work perfectly with this and just set a price. Probably for those ones that are undefined, we'd probably leave it at that for this stage anyway, do the POA. And as we progress through, we'll see if we want to make it more complex or if it's working out fine, we'll leave it.
And it's always about what gives you the biggest benefit for the littlest amount of effort. So what are the things that people very much often want to upgrade? And those are the things where you spend the effort getting the pricing in, and that's going to be your discrete things like tapware, sanitary ware, appliances, which are easy to price. And then kind of the harder things to price would be the upgrade things that are per linear meter or per meter squared.
Perfect. All right, thanks, Ralph. All right. So I guess, thank you for that demonstration of the 3D. So I think that's got a few people excited as well.
Cool.
So I can't wait to have that one come through as well. So just clarifying for everyone as well that we do have an upfront spend that we've paid for via the cooperative fund to get this far. So we're getting all the setup done. Now we also have a minimum spend of $5,000 as well. That's throughout our entire group, and that's made up of per job. So every job that we put through this system, it's $85 per job. And if you want the 3D selection with the 3D model, that's an additional $35 for that bolt on as well. Does that sound about right there, James?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. All right, so yeah, based on that, so it's $85 a job if you just want the standard selections like we've just looked through here.
Yep.
And yeah, so as everyone puts their own jobs through, each of our franchisees will be responsible for each of their own jobs to pay for those. So that'll just come through the service hub as a fee, and we'll pay that. But it's just a cost you need to think about as well. All right, do you have anything else to add there, James?
Not without getting into too much detail. It's about preparing your client for the color selections or the documentation, and keeping that documentation consistent all the way through and with pictures, so that it's an easily digestible form for any of your clients, whether they're third home builders or whether they're first home builders.
Yeah, there's clearly some huge advantages here. Very nice to be able to send them away and let them do it, on the couch, as you say. So I think we'll get some great benefits out of that.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, well, I think that's just about wrapped us up there, guys. So thanks so much for joining us and showing us through.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you very much for having us. Nice speaking to you.
Wonderful. Talk to you all soon. Bye.
Yeah.